Well, this is another episode of the most recommended YouTubers for 2024. And in this very episode, this one is in representation to my good friend, one of my good friends. He's one of my good new friends and fellow classic car enthusiast. He needs no introduction. It's none other than that of Dave Bryan, also known as Car Media Kent Video Vlog Channel, and he's also got another channel to go with it too. Both his channels have got a lot of subscribers, but sadly faced monetization issues over something. So I do feel sorry for poor Dave on that matter, but I do congratulate him for his success. And he's a long time, very good long time classic car enthusiast, having had the possessive interest for a very good long time since he was a little boy. And we've met in real life, just to tell you of things. I met Dave at the Eastbourne Magnificent Motors of 2023 event, and it's going ahead again in 2024. I found out about Dave through my best friend David Scott. That was how I found out about Dave Bryan himself. He's originally, he lives in my family's neck of the woods in County Kent. He's a County Kent resident where my family's neck of the woods originates, as both my parents grew up in Kent, just to say. And a lot of my aunties and uncles and my two surviving grandparents live over in County Kent. Dave already has he had an impression on me, an almost near influential impression on me since encountering him, because he's been a classic car enthusiast longer than I've been a classic car enthusiast. He sometimes, takes me under his wing quite a bit whenever he watches certain classic car or vintage vehicular content of mine. Takes me under his wing a little bit and does teach me a few things regarding classic car running events and such, and does tell me really certain values of classic car running events and all the rest of it. And I remembered I was watching one of David's videos he'd done of a Brighton Madeira drive he did shortly, about a week or so before the Eastbourne Magnificent Motors event, and and he was like, "You going to Magnificent Motors?" Dave spoke about it to me and said, "Oh yes, I'm going to be going too. I'll try and look out for you and all that." And so it was a week before the coronation took place, His Majesty King Charles III's coronation took place, and this was also before I first encountered Graham. And so it was about a week or so later, there I was at Magnificent Motors, and then I see a man with a camera and a little microphone. Shit, there's this little man, I thought, who couldn't have been much more than 9.5 stone of weight. A blue-coloured jeans, jacket, shirt, and like a fleece-like jumper, full head of brown hair, light brown hair, glasses. But I think he is going grey. I did see he had some grey, but not a lot. Most still very brown hair. And I honestly thought, until he did eventually tell me how old he is, I honestly would have thought he was like in his late 50s, something like that. And then I walked up to him. I nearly thought he was short, but when I stood close up to him, he couldn't be like much more than 5'6", 5'6.5", something like that. So he's not that short a man. He's not typically tall, but depending on where you stand, if you stood quite far from me, he could probably look anywhere between like 5'3", 5'4", if you stood quite far from him. And quite a fairly skinny, thin, figural, structural build he's got. Although I don't know what his weight is, but I would assume it couldn't be any more than 9.5 stone, whereas I'm just short of 11 stone. And I walked up to the man, who because I recognised the face, and I was because he had the camera, and I sort of more or less recognised the face. I said, "Are you Dave Bryan?" And he was like, "Yes," and then I introduced myself to him. It was quite an encounter, but it was a good one. I said, you talk to my best friend David Scott, who's the Wheels YouTuber. I said, I'll have to introduce you to him when he comes along. And it was like 20 odd minutes later, 25 minutes something later, something like that. And I met David. David came to the rally. And then I said to David, I was like, Dave Bryan is here. He watches your content. And then I saw Dave, I led Dave to David, and I introduced them both together, and we'd all met. It was like a circle of people, like the three of us, we interacted together talking classic cars or certain vehicular events, vintage vehicles, or vintage rallies, all that sort of thing, and then we met in real life in a short space of time. Short space of timing when we first found out about each other. Honestly, it was a brilliant encountering, and it was a good meet overall, I must say. And it's a treasured memory of mine. It's a memory I'll be treasuring greatly for a lifetime. And it's very funny too. And all that. And we had some fairly in-depth conversations about certain things, even in-depth conversations about YouTubing and stuff, and really just talking about classic cars and what a wonderful event Eastbourne Magnificent Motors is, and all the rest of it, you know. I think Dave goes to Eastbourne Magnificent Motors every year. That's if he can, but sometimes he worries about his health. And sometimes says, should health be permitting, I'll go. And he did actually tell me the saddening revelation of his health. I'm not going to repeat it on video because it is personal to Dave, unfortunately. I mean, honestly. And he isn't all that older, man. He's really not all that old. He's older than me. He's much older than I am, without a shadow of a doubt. Just say he's older than my parents, on an astonishing note, just to say. And I know what Dave would be saying, and certainly given the fact that he's quite a great many years older than I am, he'd be, now, Foxy, please listen to your older ones. You're still very young in age. He would say that quite vitally to me. He's a nice, decent man, Dave is. He's a decently friendly man, with a full set of good decency in the captivated depth of his personality, although he can be openly critical about certain things. But, you know, it's all right. We do need some critically pressed remarks regarding certain things and how we represent ourselves and with certain content, but provided it's not trolling criticism. Because if it was bad, ghastly trolling criticism, that's when it really draws and crosses a firm line. But luckily Dave never goes that far. And he too has something against trolling, as do I. But we do not have obsessive revenge in regard to trolling. Rest assured, David, and rest assured, Anna. Just saying, I know what Anna's probably going to be saying to me. Oh, Foxy, for goodness sake, for the sake of your own sanity, don't talk about trolling when you're representing a friend. Oh, yes, Foxy, I agree with Anna. Don't talk about trolling. You were the one who said you do not have obsessive revenge against it. Of course, I do not have obsessive revenge to trolling. Yes, I have something against it, and I wholeheartedly disagree with trolling concurrently with many of my friends and people I know, but I do not, rest assured, have obsessive revenge obsessions with trolling and ghastly trolls and all that. But what was I do wish I'd met Dave more back in 2023, but I'm pretty sure we're going to meet a few more times than we did this year in 2024 compared to the number of times we met in 2023. I'm quite confident of that. I don't know if Dave is into bus rally events, but if you didn't know, Dave, there's a Detling rally due to take place. Some of it is representing buses, but they do have classic cars there, just to tell you. I think it starts late morning, but I think it's really more of an afternoon event and all that. But I'll see but don't worry if it's not appealing to your interest. No need to worry whatsoever. I don't think, and he's not a rail enthusiast, Dave. He's not a rail enthusiast by all means, just to say. But, and I don't know if he's into miniature railways. No, because I don't know if he's a rail enthusiast or not, as I just said. But he really firmly holds his passionate holding grip of his classic car enthusiasm. Since a little child, like the dog with the bone, he's never let go of his possessive, passionate holding grip of enthusiasm and his enthusiast thriving interest for classic cars themselves. He's really held tightly to it, in the way David has held tightly to it as well. He's got a very good set of content, Dave himself does, and it's always enjoyable to watch it for whenever I watch it, for whenever chance allows. You know. And just to tell you, Dave, you're a brilliant classic car enthusiast. I always appreciate you for taking me under your wing from time to time, even if it's critically firmly or softly. It's always enormously appreciated, delightfully, and truly valued. I mean that. And although we only met once in 2023, I have never taken you for granted. I know we've got a future of meeting up together from time to time. I do not take you for granted as a friend. You're a good friend and a fine fellow classic car enthusiast. And I mean this from the very soul depth of my heart, saying this in your faithful regarded honour. Thanks everybody, all indeed, for watching, and I certainly do recommend you watch Dave's channel. It's well worth the watch, I must say. The links to his 2 channels will be found in the description below. Thanks all indeed for watching, and I shall certainly see you in the very next video, and I do truly believe that Dave Bryan himself certainly deserves to be one of the most recommended YouTubers for 2024, like how I thought so in a comparable way in 2023. Ta-ta, another time. From Foxy. I must say, Dave, you truly do deserve to be one of the most recommended YouTubers for 2024, and I appreciate enormously our friendship. In the same way, I appreciate enormously the friendship I have with my best friend, David Scott. Thanks for watching, Dave, if you did watch, and thanks everybody else for watching too. Ta-ta, another time. From Foxy.